Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. We're here once again with the 14 here, and if you're just joining us now, there's a playlist for this tractor I'll throw right up there for you. And I thought it just might be fun to do kind of a quick one today of how to put that thing on that thing, because I never know the experience level of people that run into these videos. You know, there are guys that are probably going to know everything about these there could possibly be to know, and then there are guys that probably just got one of these sitting on the side of the road for free or something, don't know anything. So let's do kind of a quicker, more basic one today, and I'll also throw it out there that this isn't the right way. Hopefully it isn't the wrong way. It's just the way I do it. And also I apologize for the background noise. It just is what it is. You know, neighbors out doing yard work. The first thing you're going to need is going to be one of those. That is a mule drive and deck carrier assembly. I have a video on how to install one of those as well. I had to replace some shear pins, so it's part of that video, and I will link it for you up there as well. Then you're going to need a belt. And I don't run the Cub Cadet drive belts because they are stupidly expensive, and I feel that they're also too long by like an inch or two. Just my opinion. I will throw you a link to the belts that I use, so you can do that if you want. Let's talk a little bit more about the drive belt you're going to need just for a quick second. Cub Cadet calls out a 3/8 by 79 inch belt if you have a center drive pulley that looks like this, where this top cog is larger than the bottom. My personal opinion is that that is about an inch too long. I run 78 inch belts on stuff that looks like this. If you have a speed up pulley on your deck, which my decks all have, where the top pulley and the bottom pulley are basically the same size, so instead of having that two-size geometry like that first picture, they're pretty much both the same, then you're going to want a 77 inch belt, in my opinion. Unfortunately, these pulleys are no longer being made, so if you want a deck speed up pulley, you're going to have to find one new old stock, and they're going to be super expensive. But Cub Cadet did ship these decks both ways. I've heard assorted stories for why this happened, but if you have a choice about it, this is the pulley you want. If you ever have the option to get one, you should. Your deck will work a lot better. So anyway, I'm going to throw links for a 78 inch belt and a 77 inch belt in the description of this video. Odds are highly favorable that you're going to have the first pulley I showed, so you're probably going to want the 78 inch belt. Take a look at yours and see what you determine. Also, you're not going to want to just run down to the auto parts store and get one of these. You're going to need a specialty agricultural implement belt. This stuff made for cars and stuff like that just will not hold up to this application because of the 90-degree bends that this belt makes down in the front at the mule drive. So the aramid fiber belts I will link you seem to last pretty well for me. I get 3 or 4 years out of one. The Cub Cadet belts I feel last much longer, except they are also too friggin' big, so I can't run them anyway. Plus they're like $40 or $50. So that's my small little explanation on which belt you're going to want. You're going to need to take a look at your deck and see which one of these guys you have, and then go from there. The belt routing is pretty straightforward. Right now I've got mine zip tied back because it's not attached to anything and I didn't want it to run into the engine. So the first thing you have to do to put a belt on the thing, because it kind of has to go behind this arm, is detach the arm from this linkage right here. And on mine it's right under the muffler. So once you detach that, you can swing that forward. So then you can install the belt between that bar and the pulley. Once you get that done, you can just put that bar back together and just have your belt chilling out. Next thing you want to do is get your mower deck into position. You're going to want to get your deck lift up all the way, so you probably have to start your tractor and pull the lever to bring it all the way up so it's as high as it can be. And then crank your wheels one way or the other. Sometimes you have to go both ways. So in this case, I'm just going to start with full right, and that'll give us a little more space to get that slid in under there. The next thing you're going to want to check is to make sure your deck lock pins here are pulled back and locked. You don't want this. You want that. Both sides. So you can see I've just got it slid in there now, which is no big deal. It's just kind of a two-hand job. The way I like to do it is just straddle the deck. So a foot on each side, bend over, put a hand on front and rear of the deck and just squish it in. And like I said, you might have to kajigger with the tires a little bit just to get you some clearance, but it's really no big deal. Now we're under the front of the tractor. And you see I've got my belt shoved out in front of the mule drive. I want to stick the belt back behind it. Then it goes on top of this plate, which is part of the mule drive. So you just shove her through. So we're looking about like so now. Then you want to get your belt on your PTO pulley, which is no big deal. Mine's still zip tied on right now though. So you just put it on there like that. So now I've got it dropped down on this pulley. You want to come down here to your mule drive, get the belt on each side of your drive pulleys. You want to make sure you don't get it twisted up or anything. You also want to make sure you have your belt tensioner released, which I do not. So grab it, shove it in, push down to lock. So now it's locked back. And when you do that, that moves this pulley over here on what would be the passenger side of a car into a relaxed position so you have enough slack on the belt to work. Otherwise, this pretty much crashes right into the front of this bar. So now we can just kind of get our pulleys eyed up with our belt, and we'll check it for final twist and stuff later. Right now, the critical element is just so there's no big wads or anything in it, and we want to make sure we have it routed such that the belt straddles that deck hanger guy right there, that white loop. The belt actually runs around the outside of that one on the left hand, or what would be driver's side of the tractor. You just want to make sure you've got things looking more or less like that. Now we're ready to actually put the deck on the hanger. So yeah, what I was saying before is the goal here is to have this belt running around the outside of this guy here. It's also nice if you make sure these bars are actually inside of this feature of the deck at the rear. You can pick this thing up and move it pretty easily. It's just nice if you get close before you get started. So now you can see I've got this height-wise a lot closer to where we want to go. And it's kind of hard to see because the side of the mule drive's in the way. You have to take my word for it that the mating portion, so the straight bar, is pretty much right above this guy. So what we need to do is just pull the deck forward a little bit, pick it up, slide it back, and it should be on these guys then. And that should look something like this. And you can usually pick both sides of the deck up at the same time, so we don't have to go very far, usually, and get both those hooks started, which I just did. So now both those hooks at the front of the deck are engaged. Just gotta slide it back a little. And I just slid it back until this pin and the hole that it mates to are more or less in the same plane. Now we should be able to just release this pin. And now when I release the pin, it's just resting on the side of this plate. Now when I just lift the deck up a little bit, it'll just snap in. We hope. There it is. So now we just go over to the other side and do the same thing. Now we're over at the other side. I've actually got you guys sitting on the mower deck this time, so you'll travel with it. Same story though. We just release that pin. Now it's just resting on the side of that, and it looks like I'll need to pick this up and pull it back just a little to get it in the hole. And there it is. So now the deck itself is mounted. So now the next thing I want to do is get our drive belt on the drive pulley, which is no big deal because this is all slack. This isn't even tight on the PTO yet. You just want to get it started on there. And you'll notice the condition up here I was talking about. We've got the belt on one side of that hook and then the opposite side on the other side. Now we want to actually get our belt on the PTO pulley, just like so, no big deal. Now we're going to come down under it and do the idlers. Now is the time to make sure we don't have it twisted. So this one, I can see the V is pointed toward me. It needs to be rolled exactly opposite of that because I want the V down in the pulley. Looks like this one's going to be okay. I might need two hands to do that, so hang on. That's about the best I can do to show you on camera, but that's what we're looking for. You just want this one turn at the front and then just nice gradual all the way back. So now I've got my belt on my PTO pulley. I've got it on both my mule drive pulleys correctly, and I know it's on the deck pulley correctly. So now all we have to do is push this guy in. Mine's a little stiff because I just serviced it, so you might have to give her a little pull, and that's it. Our belt tensioner is in place. Our belt's in place. It's where it's supposed to be. And I always like to just kind of grab the belt and just give it a few pulls and make sure it's going around the pulleys the way I want it to, which I can see and you can't, but take my word for it. And the PTO clutch is disengaged here, so we're not turning the motor over or anything like that. Yeah, everything looks good. And there we go, ready to roll. As far as putting decks on and off of tractors, it doesn't get a whole ton easier than this. After you do this a time or two, you can bang this on and off in like probably 5 minutes at most. The big thing that always screws me up is just making sure that I get that belt routed correctly around that one hanger and not like off to the center. Sometimes I'll get in a hurry and forget, or over the winter I'll forget. But otherwise, really straightforward, easy. We're ready to mow with it. As always, guys, I want to thank you for stopping in. We'll catch you on the next one. I'm Max, that's Saddington Bear, and we make videos like this all the time. Here are a couple links to some other videos we've made, and we really appreciate you guys stopping in.